Welcome to The Law Explained. Today, we're diving into what might be one of the most challenging paths in the entire legal system. We're talking about Rule 42. You can think of it as a last-ditch effort, a high-stakes, all-or-nothing remedy when you think every other door has been slammed shut.
So just imagine this for a second. You've been through a tough, draining court case, and you lost. So you appeal, right? You pour everything into that second chance, and you lose again. It feels like the end of the road. Is there anything left to do?
Well, there just might be. There is one final, very narrow path forward. But I gotta warn you, this path is like a gauntlet. It's a procedural quest where every single move, every single piece of paper has to be absolutely perfect. And that is the journey of Rule 42.
So our quest kicks off at a very specific and, frankly, a very tough spot, after you've already lost twice. Let's say, for example, your case was first heard in a municipal trial court, the MTC, and you lost. Then you appealed to the regional trial court, the RTC, and you lost there too. This is the exact moment when Rule 42 becomes your one and only remaining option.
So what is Rule 42 really? Well, it's not just another appeal. It's something different, a special petition for review that you file with the Court of Appeals. Now, here's the key thing to get. You can only use this when the regional trial court wasn't the first court to hear your case, but was actually acting as an appeals court itself.
And this table right here really gets to the heart of it. It shows you just how different Rule 42 is from a regular appeal under Rule 41. See, an ordinary appeal, that's what we call a matter of right. You file a simple notice and the case moves forward. But a Rule 42 petition, that is completely discretionary. That means the court can take one look at it and just say, nope, and throw it out. This isn't a right you're exercising, it's a chance you're pleading for.
And that brings us to the first major hurdle in our quest, what I like to call the filing gauntlet. Because before the court will even think about your plea, you have to gather all the required supplies, and you have to do it perfectly.
First off, you're up against a ticking clock. The moment you get that bad news, you have 15 days. That's it. Now, you can ask for a 15-day extension. And if, and only if, you have a most compelling reason, you might get one final 15-day extension. Just remember it as 15-15-15 compelling. If you miss any one of those checkpoints, the gate slams shut. For good.
Okay, so you're on the clock. Now, for your inventory. The rules are, well, they're brutally specific about what you need to have with you. This isn't a get most of it right situation. You have to have all of it, and it all has to be perfect.
Let's start with the basics. You have to file seven legible copies of your petition. Not 6, not I'll bring the 7th one tomorrow. 7. It's the first, simplest test, and a lot of people fail it.
And this right here is your treasure map. Just think MAP plus CNFS. M is for material dates. You have to state the exact dates to prove you filed on time. No guessing. A is for attachments, and this is a big one. You need certified true copies of the judgments from both of the lower courts. P is for parties. Name everyone correctly, and whatever you do, do not name the lower court judges as the bad guys. Finally, you need a certification of non-form shopping. That's a sworn statement saying you're not playing games and filing this case anywhere else.
So why are we being so nitpicky about all this? Well, the rule itself gives you the answer, and honestly, it's pretty chilling. Any failure to follow these requirements is, and I'm quoting here, sufficient ground for the dismissal thereof.
Let me just put that another way so it's perfectly clear. One missing document, one copy that isn't certified, one wrong date, and your entire quest is over before it even really starts. This is a game of absolute, total procedural perfection.
Okay, so let's say you did it. You navigated the filing gauntlet, you've submitted your flawless, perfect petition. You're not done yet. Now you have to face the first gatekeeper, the Court of Appeals.
So what happens now? Your petition is sitting in the hands of the court. And at this point, they can go down one of two very, very different paths.
And here they are, your two possible fates. On one hand, the court can dismiss it outright. If they think your petition has zero merit, or you're just trying to delay things, or the issues you're raising are just not important enough, that's it. Quest over. But if they see a little glimmer of something, a spark of potential, they'll require comment, which means they order the other side to file their response. Now, if your petition survives that first cut, don't start celebrating just yet, because now your rival, the other party in the case, finally gets their turn to strike back. So the respondent's counterattack is a document called a comment.
At this stage, this is their one and only move. And its entire purpose is to convince the court that your petition is full of holes, to point out every single inaccuracy in your story, and ultimately, to argue that your case should not be given due course.
And here's a really important strategic point for the other side. A respondent can't just file a motion to dismiss, an MD. They have to wait. They have to be asked by the court to submit their comment. So just remember the rule. No MD, just comment. It's a defensive move, not an offensive one.
All right, now we are reaching the climax of this whole procedural journey. The petition is in, the comment has been filed, the court is now ready to make its next huge decision.
And that big decision all comes down to this one phrase: due course. Getting your petition given due course is the court's official green light. Now listen, this does not mean you've won the case. What it means is the court has found a prima facie case, which is just a fancy way of saying, on the face of it, there's a real possibility that the lower court made a serious mistake, a mistake that's actually worth review.
If you ever see these words on a court order, that is a huge, huge victory. It means you've passed all the brutal procedural tests, and the court agrees that your case has enough substance to be heard. Your quest gets to continue to the final stage.
So once due course is given, what's next? Well, the court will almost certainly ask both sides to file memoranda. These are basically your super detailed final written arguments. It's your last word. In some really rare cases, they might even call for oral arguments before the whole thing is finally submitted for a decision on the merits.
But wait, there is one final critical detail, a trap, really, that we have to talk about. While all this is going on, what's happening with the decision from the lower court? Generally, an appeal pauses or stops the judgment from being enforced. But, and this is a huge but, there's a big exception for cases under summary procedure. Think of things like ejectment cases, where someone is being kicked out of a property. In those cases, the appeal does not stop the winner from enforcing the judgment right away, unless you can convince the Court of Appeals to issue a special restraining order.
When you look at it all, the path of Rule 42 is just filled with these procedural traps where one tiny misstep means you fail. And it leaves you with a really big question, doesn't it? Does a system this demanding, this precise, really test the actual merits of a case? Or does it, in the end, just test the sheer perfection and skill of the lawyer who's navigating the quest?